What do you think? Should I flip the screen around so you guys can see the... if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, you can see this just fine. But if you're on Instagram, it's going to be a little bit trickier. I'm going to theater mode. Allegedly, we are going... Allegedly, the YouTube is getting to the screen. I think we're good. Make sure the chat's going. So yeah, let me just boost this a little bit. Wish there was like a boost button. I just hit a thing and it goes, hey, it's not me. Well, one of our products is going, just got a premiere video on Glenn Fricker's channel, so I'm going to put this out. Alright, well, it's there, so let me just share this. Share the news feed. Let me just send this to a couple of my friends. And, hey, we are going to be watching this in a second. I'm going to flip the screen around so you can actually see in it. STL wanted something. Okay, so it's 18 minutes in and 1,300 views. All right, well, that's good. Now, how about giving me some of those views, man? Okay. Let's just... this is pretty exciting. Let's see. Who else? Who else? Oh man, Facebook, you are messing up. Sorry. It's almost done. Almost done. I'm getting there. Oh. Alright, so somewhat made in Hawaii anyway. For all you people that want to see something actually come out of Hawaii. Let's see. So I'm going to flip this around. Let's see if I can do this without messing everything up. Blammo. And I'll bring this out here. And let's see. Can I... Oh, yeah. Definitely. Bring them out. Bring them out. Let's see if I can spin this. Okay. I don't know how this camera's going to work too well here, so we're going to find out. Oh, that sucks. Okay, I'm going to do this a different way, so. Sorry about this, Instagram. You guys on YouTube and Facebook, I know this is working okay for you. It's I'm just setting this for the Instagram guys right now, so sorry about that. You might have to turn your camera sideways. I actually have an iPad stand. That's the most pathetic part of this, but it's it doesn't really want to reach here, so we're just gonna go. All right. So here we go. Sorry, not much babbling about nothing. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Hey everybody, how's it going? So sitting at the desktop today, it's time to get serious and get nerdy in here. Today we're going to be taking a look at something brand new from my friends over at AIX DSP. You guys remember AIX? They did that amazing multi-band gate that I'm a huge fan of. Today they've got something brand new. This is called the Dynamic EQ. And what this is, it combines, say, a regular equalizer with a few compression elements as well as expansion and a few other toys as well. This thing really is kind of a Swiss Army knife kind of equalizer. So why don't we jump right into it and see what it's all about.
I can do that too, but I don't got any hair, man.
So yeah, you guys definitely remember AIX DSP. I was using their stuff all over my mixes last year. And one of the things I've used them quite a bit for is, say, their drum EQ. And this thing is fantastic for tuning an equalizer to an exact specific frequency, whatever your drum is tuned. Now this thing's great is because you can set it up for the drum's octaves where you've got its center frequency and then the other octaves for what goes, and then you can, you know, kind of pick out where the peaks are in your drum sound. And it really helped me get a very, very cool tom sound especially. It's also great for taking the honk out of snare drums. It's just absolutely phenomenal stuff. One of my other big favorites from AIX is the multi-band gate, and this lets you set up a gate to work in 3 different frequency bands. It lets you like get rid of hi-hat bleed in a very efficient manner. It's one of my absolute favorite gating programs. Only problem is, I mean, like, AIX isn't exactly world renowned for how pretty their plugins are. They're definitely a function over form, if I've ever seen anything like that. However, they broke down and got themselves an artist, and now they have the dynamic EQ, and it actually looks halfway decent. I mean, like, I wouldn't be afraid to show it off to my friends and be worried that they're going to laugh at me for it. So let's check it out in action here. So we've got it on a guitar bus right now. And if we punch it out, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. That's the raw guitar tone right there. You kick it on. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. First and foremost, we've got a high pass and a low pass to get rid of the mud and the fizz. We've got a slight boost at right around 1800 hertz. Like if we give this a play, you hear what's going on. We can solo this. This is what boosting slightly. Just a little bit of the squawk there, maybe a bit of the quackiness. We don't want to go too hard there. So we're just trying to get the guitars to work in the mix in a nice fashion, so they're going to fit in nicely and not kind of step over all the other instruments. I've got an awful lot of outboard going on, so that's why there's kind of a couple seconds delay here. I've got compressors and EQs going on just everywhere right now. Really starting to get into the outboard gear, but this is great for doing precision work. And you see what's going on here? It's stepping down on the palm mutes. Solo that up. That's band number 2 here. Listen to this. It's right in the chug-a-lugs on the guitars there.
That's right.
But the really important thing is we got a compressor going on. Unsolo that. Right here. Bring that down. It's just tightening up those chugs on the guitars ever so slightly. Now, you can get this obviously with a Wave C4 and what's built into Reaper as well, but this thing's got something a little bit more unique to it in the fact that not only has it got the solo here, it's really easy to get to, you can set up a hold control as well. So you can time it for exactly how long those palm mutes are going to be. Like, take it there, it's just going to take it out completely.
So if you're following along, that is before the release curve starts. So that hold time is calculated after the attack happens, but before the release starts. So you can make sure that the compressor is going to stay in its flattish state for a little bit longer, just like a hold time works on a gate, but this is working on a compressor. Because a lot of times when you set your attack, because you're setting it real slow because you want the compressor to hold for a while, you want it without a hold control, you want the compressor to stay squishing down on stuff for a while, it's actually kind of pushing down really hard when you don't want it to. What you really are asking for it to do is to stay squishing for a little while. And with the hold control, that's how that works. So then you can set the release to how you want the release. It doesn't have to shoot back up, or it doesn't have to sag back up. You can set it however long you decided that you want it to sound, with the confidence of knowing that the compressor is going to stay squishing long enough to actually do what you're telling it to do. Exact same thing if you're running a de-esser. Like all the times you've had a de-esser that either is going to turn your vocals into a lisp because you got to hold that attack down so long, or doesn't actually take out the S, and you just get this weird kind of T or H sound out of something that never had a T or an H. So anyway, here we go, back to this.
So let's bring that back just to get it in control. So what we're doing is we're just getting the mud under control ever so slightly. So that just cleans that palm mute right up. And we can just tweak it a little bit with the threshold so we don't kill it. I want to hear some of it. But it definitely gets rid of the rumble really nicely. Now, of course, that trick is as old as the day is long. We've seen it a million times, but like I said, having a hold control on that and being able to actually time it to your palm mutes, that's something that's a little bit unique that you don't get in many other plugins. The fact it's built into the EQ is also a big plus, because now I don't have to load up 2 separate plugins to do the same job. I can just set it all up here. I can do, some real nice adjustments to the top and bottom, and then get that palm mute under control, a little bit of a boost. But we've also got this little notch filter right at about 6.2 kilohertz. My friend Lasse Lambert was telling me about this, and this is kind of where the zing is on your guitars. And if we sold this up, so
if I ever showed you the Whistler trick at the studio in person before, this is where another one of these actually lives. Normally the one you're going to hear is around like 3K or so, and it's really nasty. And it's weird because you don't hear it until you take it out. When you take it out, the second you put it back in, you hear it plain as day, just screaming in your face. Yeah, bring them out here, man. We can talk, just hang out. We can do a lot of stuff, man, or just record your drums here, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it just kind of gets the top end to calm down ever so slightly. That's nice.
Now, also, Glenn, you could do that dynamically, just in case that sometimes you want a little bit of that coming out. You could turn on the dynamic section.
Now, one of the big advantages this EQ has over some of the other EQs is that you don't get what's known as crowding. And what's that? Here's the
cramping.
EQ that ships with Reverb. Now,
actually, no, I think I have heard somebody call it crowding. Cramping.
And we add a band here and just kind of do a boost here. Listen to what's going on with the guitars here. The massive boost and bring it over here. Watch what happens when it gets into the top end here. It just kind of vanishes and doesn't really do anything. Because it loses its effect when it gets past 20 kilohertz. It's something to do with Nyquist theory. I'm not exactly an expert on Nyquist theory. You guys can definitely spend some time and look that up
I can help
on a Wikipedia article, and I'm sure somebody's going to let us know what it's all about in the comments. But what happens is basically the EQ becomes way less effective once it gets up to that range. This one doesn't crowd like that. It doesn't have that situation where it kind of just loses itself when you get up here. This is this kind of reminds me of the top end of a Pultec. This is really cool. We're gonna pull up that band 4 there and show you exactly what's going on here. So we have the initial boost. Bring that up. Watch what happens when we get up really high here. That's still doing something. That is really smooth. I really like that. It almost reminds me of like this analog Pultec I've got going on down here. Now, one of the other features used on this, you can actually use it as a bleed killer on a snare drum. So I've got my top snare mic over here. We'll just solo this up and take a listen. And see it's opening. So I'm basically using this like a gate. Turn it off. That's how much top end I'm adding in there with the EQs. But because the gate, it only hits on the snare now. This is just great. But it's not even a gate, it's just, I'm using this as a downward expander. This is a channel 6 here. You can see this, we've got several different types of compression we can use. We can use it as a compressor. This isn't gonna work. Upward expander. It's actually gonna turn that up. And downward expander. And that is just super clean. I mean, I really like the sound of that one right there. That just works on so well as a clean kind of top end treatment.
Oh yeah.
On the snare. I mean, like honestly, I think it might even work a little bit better than the multi-band gate. This is the one I had set up originally. This is the original plugin. All right, now just to shoot these guys out for a sec, Here's the original multi-band gate, which I absolutely love, and then there's the dynamic EQ, and I'm going to set these up. Somebody was nice enough to shout out to me how to alternate plugins like this in demo mode, so I'm going to let this roll. We've got the snare soloed up. This is just the snare top mic here. Show you guys what's going on. So that's dynamic EQ. Listen to what's going on with the tail here on the snare. We're getting a little bit more bleed with the multi-band gate.
Actually, okay.
The dynamic EQ.
So let me tell you, while we're making dynamic EQ, we actually found some things that we could add to multi-band gate. So the next version of multi-band gate, I know some of you guys are trying the alphas already. You're gonna find a lot more tail control on this. So remember, they're two different plugins. Dynamic EQ, you could kind of use it in the same way, but I think a lot of people for more natural debleeding are probably gonna like dynamic EQ better. But I'll tell you, for when I'm doing metal and stuff like that, and especially for the toms, that's why we made multi-band gate, and we are going to keep making multi-band gate. So,
is giving us a little bit more of a clean cut from that high end on the snare, so we're just getting the initial punch of the snare drum as opposed to the multi-band gate, which is insane because the multi-band gate was like one of the best snare gates I've ever seen, and this actually seems to be doing a slightly better job of it. The trade-off, of course, is with the dynamic EQ, it doesn't do the same thing for the bottom end. I was kind of messing around with it a little bit earlier today, and I really wasn't having too much luck getting it to gate out the bottom end.
There's a way to do it, and that's more setting the source to input rather than band, and kind of setting it to the exact same frequencies that you have on the band on the high end. Whatever it is that opens the gate, you could almost make this thing act like multi-band gate that way by setting all your bands to that source. It's going to be a pain in the butt. It's kind of like drum EQ. You know, you can do what drum EQ does with another EQ. It's just going to take you forever. So, you know, horses for courses.
So, I mean, like, this is very much doing what a FabFilter Pro MB will do, which is like one of my favorite plugins for doing that sort of thing, but this is doing it like as an EQ as well. So we can add, you know, thump if we want. Or honk.
I don't know that FabFilter multiband, Pro multiband, whatever, has a hold control. It might, but I don't know.
Or more top end.
Yeah, that's the
good,
point of multiband gate as well. You can boost the hell out of the top end if you want. You don't. That was always the other trade off back in the day when you had a gate on. Or, like, you know, forget the gate. If you had cymbals bleeding into your snare or your toms, if you wanted to boost the highs the way that, you know, we expect them to sound, you're boosting the cymbals with it. So, in this case, I mean, that's the whole point of this thing. You can shut it down, but you can still boost the hell out of the highs. So, there you go.
Right there. Let that play in the mix.
Yeah.
That might even be a little much. You can take that off. I like that just like that. Once again, I've got some Trident EQs down here in this rack, and I'm actually running the snare through that for a little bit of top end boost. What can I say? I've been really getting into a lot of analog gear for like general sound shaping stuff, but for like the precision work, yeah, this is exactly what I'm really enjoying right here. This is going to become one of my favorite gates. I can see this already, and it's not even a freaking gate; it's a freaking EQ. Go figure. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with this. Again, it all comes down to the threshold, ratio, attack, and release controls here. Like, we'll let more of that hat bleed in, or less. Just want to get to the point where we're just going to open up. That's got to be one of the best hi-hat bleed killer plugins I've ever come across. I've definitely got some favorites. My absolute favorite was the multi-band gate. This, like I said, it might actually be better. So there we go. Another crazy thing they've got is something called FUG mode, which basically stands for Fuck You Glenn, and it kind of puts everything into reverse. So if you just want to hear hi-hat bleed, hey, that works. So yeah, the
actually
fuck
for the
you Glenn Mo,
compressor,
just
but-
checking my notes here. What it is, it's got that dual out of phase trick. I did a video on that last year called the greatest snare mixing technique I ever learned, and this kind of does the exact same thing here. I've got it set up as a downward expander right now, so I don't want to mess with it. But if you were to go into FUG mode and play with some of the controls, I'm sure you could get it to work just as well.
Yep.
Very cool. I think we're going to try exploring that maybe in another video. I don't want to bore you guys to death playing with this, because I highly recommend you guys go grab the demo for yourself, because there is a 30-day free trial for this thing. All you got to do is just go to the AIX DSP website. I'll have a link in the description below, and you can get it for absolutely nothing for 30 days. Intro price on the plugin is $75, and I don't think you're going to find a more functional EQ for that kind of price anywhere. I could be wrong, of course, and again, if I'm wrong, feel free to tell me and why.
I'm sure they will.
But yeah, for $75 for an EQ that does all this, that's not freaking bad at all. Just a couple other quick things I was going to go on. What I got going on here, again, is because I've got this as a high shelf. We're going to set this up as a peak and low shelf. So that's cool. I like the fact that it's got this. Oh yeah, and if you want to check your, select your different EQ bands, you just go right here. You can go your low pass, band 1, band 2, 3, 4, 5, all that kind of stuff right there. That's just absolutely killer. We're on band 6 for there. And one other thing we got, source. We've got sources, so we can go band source, or your input, and then sidechain. So you can sidechain, say, if you want to say sidechain, you're kicking bass together, or your snare and your hats, that kind of stuff. You can do that, and the tracks will talk to each other, much like how the cock blocker works when you use a dry track against your amp track. It works really well. So what we got here is a high pass and low pass filter for our input here. This lets us pinpoint exactly how much of the signal is going to trigger that downward expander. So that's just killer. Make sure I got that, pull that up. I don't want to lose it, because I had it just dialed in absolutely perfect for this drum, and I don't want to lose that. Yeah, that's just gorgeous like that. I love the sound of that. Works so well. Oh yeah, one last thing to mention, this thing also has a limiter right here. You can set it off, soft and hard, so if you really want to get stuff pumping out, you can do that. I'm going to some analog gear here.
And so last night I showed you guys how I was able to use that plus an impulse response to make a guitar amp emulator. Sorry to all the pedants out there claiming all this crazy research and stuff, but you can get it pretty close. I know I'm straining credibility there, but I think we're going to be doing some ABX testing and using a matching EQ, and I bet you we get to the point where a lot of people aren't going to be able to ABX between this theoretical model and another theoretical model, so we're going to see about that.
Think after this EQ, so I don't want to push it too hard into the limiter. Yeah, that's something I definitely don't want to do, because that's going to probably get real ugly real quick. Actually, it's not half bad. It might be a little messy.
Because again, this is a peak meter and it's reading transients, some things you might not even be able to hear, so who knows.
That's super cool though. Good call with the limiter. I almost forgot that's there as well. I could probably get rid of maybe even my L1 on my guitar bus and just use that, say in the soft limit mode, just to get a little bit more volume out of it. I like this an awful lot. Anyway, once again, I highly recommend checking it out for yourself. There's a 30-day trial, so you can grab it for absolutely free, and it'll be fully functional for an entire month. And after that, it's only going to cost you like $74, so it's definitely worth taking a look at. Links in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on Tuesday with 13 things to avoid that are studio client bait.
Alright, so let's see what kind of crap people are talking already. I'm going to refresh this. Let's look at the comments. I'm sure there's all kinds of haters. Let's read some Hate Tell Theater. Who the hell wrote this? Hey, I didn't write this, man. Dynamic EQ is nothing new and must for anyone trying to attain peaks. Just goes to show, even with decades of knowledge and experience, you can still miss some things. Okay. 10 seconds of silence. Volume raised. Hey everyone, rip my ears. Yeah, that's what I said, Glenn. What's going on about that? You may be able to trim it using YouTube Studio. Yeah. And of course, Crowdkill Productions. Thank you, Crowdkill Productions says, Spectre Studios, keep the silence. You might get a good butthurt of the week out of it. I think so. So, of course, here comes the haters. Sonox Dynamic EQ, FabFilter Pro Q3, Isotope Neutron, on and on. Dude, Dynamic EQs are years old. This is nothing new. However, do those have hold controls? And also TDR Nova, which is free, lol. TDR Nova is not zero latency. Yeah. But anyway, so that's something that Glenn didn't mention. Let me go type that in, sorry. And let me just check something real quick, because I think you might have broke something. I'm gonna pop up Reaper real quick here. Sorry for the guys on Instagram. I'm gonna go to Dynamic EQ, and so let's go here, pressure, and listen. And yeah, so here's something that wasn't mentioned here. So if you look, there is a look ahead right there. Not mentioned, so I'm just typing this in. Not mentioned, and unlike some of those others mentioned, some of those others comments compared to this is the fact that it is zero latency by default, though it does have optional look ahead. So, sorry guys. So I said not mentioned, and unlike some of those others, comments compared to this is the fact that it is zero latency by default, though it does have optional look ahead in before, but there's already dynamic EQs. That should cause some butthurt of the week for Glenn, so there we go. Let's see what else we got here. What do FM radio stations processors do to music files to make the sound so polished? Some tracks end up sounding like a completely different mix. Yes, that is the like there's a phase rotator. The Orban had their processors. There were dynamic multi-band compressors back then. Yeah, TDR. Yes. Looks like it's the same idea as the TC Electronic Hypergravity, only with the sound engineer in mind instead of a guitarist. I gotta go try that. Intuitive frequency modulation, smart EQ. Love dynamic EQs. Yeah. Oh, good. Let's see. Yeah, too many of these people didn't understand the difference here. But that's okay. That's what I figured. I mean, there's been dynamic EQs for forever. That's a lot of comments on here, though. Sounds like crap. Just another music killer. Awesome. This is the best comment. This is why I'm reading these comments. Sounds like crap. Just another music killer. All right. Then clean the crap out of your ears. Awesome. Let's see what else we got. New low or Fab Filter Pro Q3. That's not the same. Not the same. Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Anyway, looks like we're doing okay. Let's see. We'll see if there's any sales, and these coders can justify their existence. We'll see. I think we're okay. We got a lot coming out. Let me know if you have any problems with this thing, and we'll get right back to you. And I got some other stuff to prepare for today, so pretty exciting. I'll see you guys later.